the importance of your morning routine. We have already covered the science around the way that your brain works. We have already discussed how you have a default network of neurons and neural pathways in your brain that filter the world. They allow what comes in and what comes out. We've talked about limiting beliefs. We've trained you on the power of being a deliberate thinker. We've trained you on how you think this instead of thinking that when you have very negative beliefs. And now we're in the portion of the program where we're talking about the power of your morning routine. Why is a morning routine critical for your mindset? The reason why your morning routine is critical for your mindset is a couple reasons. Number one, let's just think common sense. If you wake up and you feel horrible and you're in a bad mood and you pick up your phone or you turn on the news and the first inbound information that hits your brain is negative, or it triggers something in you emotionally that is negative, you are starting your day off on the wrong foot. And you might even have a habit that if you wake up and the day begins as a bad day, that you then spend the rest of your day convincing yourself that this entire day is a bad day. That is a major mistake. It's also not true because you get to choose how you view what's happening around you. And the second reason why your morning routine is critical is because the first 2 hours that your brain is awake are the best 2 hours for your brain all day. And so I believe that if you create a very powerful morning routine, and the one that I am recommending that you start off with, and then you make it your own, you add in things, you take away things that you don't use or that you're not going to like. But everything I'm recommending is based on the science around productivity, focus, happiness, the way that your mind is actually wired to work. And that's why I'm recommending everything that I've been recommending in the program. I will explain very briefly the steps of the morning routine, but if this is the first video you're watching, it's day 11. Go back to day 9, go back to day 10, where I really begin talking about the power of a morning routine, why it's important, and I explain the science in detail. For today's training, we're going to talk about the third step in your morning routine. So when you get to the third step, by this point, you have already woken up on time and gotten out of bed when the alarm rang. You didn't hit the snooze button. You've already turned off the alarm on your phone if you're using your phone for your alarm. You have not looked at your phone. You have not turned on the TV. You have not let any information from the outside world cross the threshold into your precious brain yet. Why? Well, the reason why is I believe that you and your dreams, they deserve 10 lousy minutes. In fact, I think they deserve an hour, but I'm just going to go with 10 minutes because I know that you can find 10 lousy minutes to focus on your dreams, to focus on becoming a deliberate thinker, to plan out your day, and to figure out what your priority is. I have studied morning routines, journaling methods, the science of productivity. It has taken me 3 years to figure out the perfect morning routine journaling method. It takes me less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. Each prompt in the journaling method is backed by science. It is designed to make your mindset more powerful. It's designed to give you control. It's designed to leverage the world's most powerful research around focus and around happiness. And literally, it takes you less than 5 minutes. I'm going to walk you through step by step this week the science behind each one of the prompts. I invite you to print this out. I invite you to go to the 5-second journal and look at the science. And I invite you to think about what's working for you so you can create a morning routine that really empowers your mindset. Because I don't want you to wake up in the morning and immediately let the world in. You're under siege all day long from the world, from your friends, from your work, from your emails, from your social media, from the television, from the 24-hour news cycle. Your dreams deserve 10 to 30 minutes in the morning for you to get your head on straight, for you to focus yourself on things that are positive, for you to figure out how to build momentum and make progress on something that matters to you today, and for you to work on building your deliberate way of thinking so that by doing so, you're going to reprogram your default network in your brain so that your mind automatically starts filtering the world in a way that works for you, That's why I'm teaching you this, because it's all building on the things you learned in week 1, on days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we're on day 9 now. So the first prompt is very, very simple. And the first prompt is all about your mood. So the second that you wake up, remember, you're going to get out of bed. If your alarm is your phone, you're going to turn the alarm off, but you're going to leave your phone where it is, and you're not going to take your phone with you to journal, because I do not want you tempted to even look at it. I want your head clear. I want you present. I want 10 lousy minutes for your dreams. Don't your dreams deserve that? Doesn't your sanity and your happiness and your sense of control deserve 10 lousy minutes in the morning? Of course it does. So the first thing I want you to think about is your mood. And the reason why I'm starting with your mood is because there is tremendous research about your mood in the morning, and how the mood that you have in the morning and the energy level that you have can impact your confidence all day long. It can impact your productivity all day long. And it's super important for you to do something first thing in the morning to get present to your mood and your energy, and then do something intentional to boost it, because that will have an established, science-backed, proven impact on your productivity and your focus and your happiness all day long. So there's a very simple prompt at the top. It just is, how do I feel? This is your inner compass. This is how you read your energy. It's a little scale, much like a gas tank in a car, from empty to full. Depleted is empty and full is energized. Me this morning, I woke up feeling meh. And then over here, you're going to explain, why do you feel this way? Now, it's important to identify why you feel meh or why you feel energized and excited, because it makes you present. You see, we're tuning you into your inner wisdom. We are teaching you how to be present and mindful. And even if when you get present to something that's negative, we're teaching you how to turn it around. See, negative isn't bad, it just is what it is. When you recognize that you woke up and you're feeling meh, which is how I felt this morning, now that you're present to it, you've got the power to get deliberate and shift it. So why did I wake up and go, meh? I'll tell you why. Because there was some woman in the room next to me who was awake at 4:15 this morning, yapping to the person next to her. They weren't, doing anything that I hate hearing in a hotel room, other people through the wall, if you know what I mean. I'm keeping this family friendly. But she was just talking and talking and talking. And then I woke up again at 4:37, and I woke up again at 5:12, and I woke up again at 5:57. And then I woke up again at 6:20. And then I just got up. I mean, my alarm hadn't even gotten up yet. And I was so annoyed. And that's why it was like, meh, because of this chick next to me in the hotel room. It's actually the first thing that I said to Mandy. So I wrote down, I feel this way because I kept getting interrupted in my sleep and woken up by this person, and that bothered me. And the other reason why I feel meh is my neck kind of hurts. Sleeping in so many hotel beds, it's been lousy for my 50-year-old neck. So now the next thing that you're going to do, how long did that take? 5 seconds. 5 seconds to circle this, 5 seconds to explain why. Now the next one, most important. To feel more energized, I can. We want to boost your mood in the morning. It takes 5 seconds to think about it. So I wrote down, I'm going to get up and exercise. So my business partner, Mandy, and I, we schlepped our way to a Soul Cycle class, a 45-minute spin class here. It was, I'm not in spin shape. That's what I learned this morning. But let me tell you, it boosted my energy. So in just those 3 5-second questions, I have leveraged very profound and powerful science around mood to take control of my mindset. I could have easily in my old life woken up, been interrupted by some woman next door to me in the hotel all night long, been annoyed about it, carried that like, oh, I didn't get enough sleep, all through my entire day. All through my entire day. How many of you have done that? You got a lousy night's sleep, or somebody interrupted you when you're sleeping in a hotel, like what happened to me, or the dog barked and had to go out at 3 o'clock in the morning, or maybe one of your kids came home after a night of partying and then you were upset and you had to deal with that. Then you went back. And so you wake up and your mood is lousy. And then all day long, you basically make one moment where you wake up in a bad mood become a bad day. You're not going to do that anymore. That's the power of a mindset reset, and that's why you're going to start with mood when you wake up. So today, we are building on the critical connection between having a positive, deliberate, healthy mindset and how you start the day and what your morning routine is. By way of recap, we've already covered why the number one thing about your morning routine is that the night before you plug your phone in outside of your bedroom, you can leave the ringer on, turn notifications off. If somebody needs to reach you, they can call you, but otherwise you're going to bed. That's number one. Number two, the second the alarm rings, you are to wake up. No hitting the snooze button. Yesterday, I explained in great detail the scientific reason why you do not want to hit the snooze button. And the fact that based on research, it is medically proven that when you hit the snooze button and doze off to sleep, you put your brain in a state of sleep inertia, which impacts your ability to focus, your ability to be positive, your ability to process information for up to 4 hours. That is why it is critical. And step 2 of your morning routine is when that alarm rings, you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use the 5-second rule and get out of bed. Now, number 3, that's what we're talking about today. The third piece of your morning routine is that for the first 10 to 30 minutes of the day, that time is reserved for your dreams. That time is reserved for you. That time is time that you need to protect. You are not to pick up your phone. Do not turn on the television. Do not turn on the radio. No outside world input. All I want you to do for the first 10 to 30 minutes of the day is I want you to give those 10 to 30 minutes to your dreams. I think your dreams deserve 10 minutes, don't you? And you're not going to give them 10 minutes if the first thing that you do is pick up your phone. It's just not going to happen. Your attention is under siege all day long. All day long, the world is trying to sell you something, or they're trying to serve up something that's salacious or tempting or curiosity provoking in order to get your limbic system, which is the interior part of your brain, the fight or flight, the part of your brain that's triggered by emotion and fear. They're trying to trick you to pay attention to things that just don't matter to your dreams, to your day-to-day life, to your family. And that is why it is critical that the first 10 minutes are reserved for you and your dreams. Now, you may be asking, what is it that you should be doing in those 10 to 30 minutes? I'm so glad you asked because I have a gift to give you today. I have developed a journaling method. I'm not selling you anything. Don't worry. I'm actually giving you something for free. I've developed a journaling method that I worked on for the last 3 years. I've taught it to thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world, whether I'm teaching it from a stage or whether I've incorporated it into other courses or the other training videos that we've done online. This is a journaling method that I use. It takes less than 5 minutes. It's backed by science. And what I'm going to do for the rest of the week is I'm going to walk you step by step through the various prompts that I use in the first 10 minutes of my day to anchor my mood on something positive, to focus on the one thing that matters to me today, to practice gratitude, and to draw boundaries between the things that I need to do and when I need to cut off access to work and when I need to stop working so that I can have a little bit of focus time with my family or with myself for self-care, taking care of myself, whatever. The gift that I'm giving you is in the email that's going out today. We are going to give you a link to the PDF of the 5-second journal. You're going to get the page that I fill out every single morning for free. You can look at it on your phone. You can print it out if you want. You can use it. If you want it, you can of course go to Amazon, but that's not the point of giving it to you. I'm doing these live trainings and I'm teeing up this information because it is so important for you to get deliberate about what you're doing in order to improve your life. And so I want to share with you what I do every morning. I'm going to share with you the science behind it and why I do it and the results that it has created in my life. And I'm going to give you a free template to use so that you can try it out too, so that you can think and be more deliberate about what you're doing. That's the entire point of this, because the morning routine's only going to work if you make it yours. If you are a shift worker and your morning routine begins at midnight, all of these same principles apply. You need to make them work for you, otherwise you're not going to do it. And I'm the kind of person that if something sounds too good to be true, I tend to just sort of get like cynical about things and go, I'm not trying that. That's a gimmick. If I understand the science behind it, which is why I explain the science behind why you should never hit the snooze alarm when you need to get up and get going. When I understand the science and the reason and the research behind something, I am convinced to try it. And when I see results in my own life, then I keep doing it. And so again, today the training is very simple. You're going to continue being deliberate about building a morning routine. Tonight, plug the phone in outside your bedroom. Tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, you are going to wake up as soon as that alarm gets off. You're welcome to hate me for that. That's fine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. If you're using your phone for the alarm, walk across the room, turn off the alarm. Do not pick up your phone. Do not. Go to a different part of the room. Go to the kitchen. Go to the bathroom. Go to your office. Go somewhere else. Crack open your notebook. The first 10 to 30 minutes are for you. Are for you. If you've got kids that get up really early, wake up 15 minutes earlier than you normally do, so you've got that quiet time in the house for you. In the email that goes out later today, I'm going to put in the email the link to the PDF of the 5-second journal template. You can also get that at 5secondjournal.com. If for some reason you're not on the email list, get to melrobbins.com/mindset reset so we can get these things to you. And in tomorrow's post, we'll be sure to upload a link to the PDF so that you can reach it as well. I want to answer a few questions. Tomorrow, I'm going to break down the journaling method, which is why I want you to have it in front of you tomorrow morning when you wake up so you can try it so that the training goes along with it. I also want to preview something. Many of you have been asking about whether or not we're going to get into anxiety. You better believe it. Now that our trainings have covered the default network in your brain, how to become a deliberate thinker, thinking this, not that, learning how to spot your limiting beliefs and switching gears and choosing what you think about. We're now in the middle of building a habit in the morning that's going to help support you be a deliberate thinker and will also give you control first thing in the morning so that you are in control of what you're thinking about. You've planned your day, you've pushed your dreams forward. That's going to start you out in a totally different way. Then we're going to get into topics like anxiety, depression, how to talk to your kids about anxiety. These are issues and mental health challenges that you face when your limiting beliefs, your worries, and your stress become not only your default, but they start to spin out of control and become the constant way that you think, not just the default that gets triggered. So we're going to be covering all of that in the coming weeks. This is game-changing stuff, but we got to start with the foundational stuff first. Default versus deliberate thinking, thinking this, not that, spotting your limiting beliefs and realizing it's a habit the way that you think that way. It's not the truth. And now building a morning routine so that the way that you wake up, how you wake up, and how you spend those first couple minutes of the day support your mindset changing and give you control through the rest of the day. Before I preview what we're going to talk about tomorrow, let me jump into some of the questions that we've got. And if you've got questions, just put them right down there. Tell me, did you take the phone challenge? Did you take the snooze alarm challenge? Did you hate it? What did you notice? Share with us what's going on, because by you sharing your story, you're going to be inspiring other people as well. Even if you failed, so what? You're trying something new. Failing is just as good as succeeding at something because you're learning something. And guess what? Tomorrow morning when that alarm rings, you get to go for it again. So shout out to Edith Shaw on Facebook. I wasn't sure if I could actually go to sleep knowing my phone was in another room, but I did. I turned it to silent and went to sleep. It was weird to say the least, and I did find myself reaching for it in the middle of the night only to find it wasn't there. Did you do that too? I know, it's a really crazy habit to break because you don't realize how addicted you are. But here's the good news. This is what Edith noticed. I really noticed the difference. I had space in my mind to think about my day. I visualized for a few moments. I thought about how my day will unfold. I wrote in my planner, and all felt a lot more peaceful and calm. Deirdre, she accepted the challenge last night, which actually had her get out of bed to cut off the foam alarm. Then she put the phone back down until I was ready to check the news. I was so much more productive and awake before leaving my house to get to the gym. I will do this every day now. I am hammering this stuff because it works. Here's a few more. Amy Robbins on Facebook. You mentioned if you wake up before the alarm, you need to get up. I often wake up early but don't want to get up yet. Am I out of luck and just need to get out of bed? Amy, look, you got to make this work for you. So if you wake up before the alarm and you have a meditation practice where you lie in your bed and you meditate and it works for you, do it. Then get up. What I don't want you to do, Amy, is drift back to sleep, because drifting back to sleep causes your brain to go into another sleep cycle, which lasts 75 to 90 minutes. And if you wake up before the 75 to 90 minutes, you've put your brain in a state of sleep inertia, and that's going to impact your productivity for the next 4 hours and your focus for the next 4 hours. That's why I don't want you drifting back to sleep. I could never lie in bed. I'm not that kind of person because I will fall back asleep. I hate getting up. But if it works for you as part of your mindfulness routine, your morning practice, to wake up before the alarm, have a mindfulness practice, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up, don't look at your phone, take the first 10 to 30 minutes for yourself, fantastic, go for it. Make it your own. That way you'll actually do it. Jane Harmon McFarland on Facebook. I start work at 6 a.m. every day and the alarm is set for 5:50. Do you just suggest that I wake up earlier, or can I do dream goal time before bed? I really want you to do it when you wake up. I would wake up earlier, Jane. I would wake up at 5:30, and here's why. The reason why is when you wake up, you got a clean slate. What I would love for you to deliberately put into your prefrontal cortex, the executive center of your brain, is I would like you to deliberately put how you want your day to go, what's the one thing that matters to you, and one thing that you can do to advance your dreams. Why? If you go back to some of the earlier trainings when we talk about the two modes of the brain and the fact that we all have a default mode network that acts like a filtering system in our minds. Part of the reason why I want you to wake up and engage the executive center of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and be deliberate about what you're thinking is that by doing that, we are reprogramming your default network. We are telling the default network in your brain, the fabric and filter system in your brain, what you care about and what we want help spotting opportunities around. You know how there are moments in your life where you feel like you're in a state of flow and you notice these magical coincidences and you spot all kinds of interesting connections and things just seem to happen. Part of the reason why that happens, or the law of attraction works, is because by getting deliberate about what you're thinking about and about what you care about, you are priming your mind to be programmed to see connections and opportunities. Visualization, the law of attraction, it's not just some woo-woo garbage. There's hard science that explains why it works, and it has to do with your default mode in your brain, and how when you get deliberate and you engage the executive center in your brain, your prefrontal cortex, you train your brain to help you spot opportunities. Finally, last question, Mikey on Instagram. Why do I feel so guilty for carving out personal time? It's been hard for me since becoming a parent. I'll tell you why, Mikey. I bet it has to do with your limiting belief. I bet it has to do with that negative thing that you default to, whether you think you're not worthy or you think you're not good enough, that somewhere deep down inside, by taking time out for yourself, you are saying to yourself, well, I don't deserve to do that. And the only way that you're going to start to carve out personal time is if you go to war against that limiting belief and you create a new one. And the new one around personal time is, I will be a better parent, a better father, a better husband if I take time and go to the gym. I will be a better parent, a better person, a better husband if I take time to work on my dreams. And by the way, you want your kids to know how to take care of themselves, right? Well, the only way they're going to learn it is if you model it. So if you can't do it for yourself, use modeling having healthy boundaries and healthy habits as an individual, modeling it for your kids as your motivation. All right, I got to hop because there are 1,500 people in a ballroom downstairs that I need to give a speech to. But tomorrow we are going to add on to this mindset training and the connection with your morning routine, and we're going to get personal. You're going to have a copy of my method and the journaling that I do every morning to prime my mind based on science. I'm going to walk you through step by step each one of the steps. I want you to try them. I want you to tweak them and make them your own. And I want you to continue to fight for that 10 to 30 minutes every morning. Here's the recap on your homework. Tonight, you're going to plug in your phone. Outside of your bedroom, you're going to go to bed. When the alarm rings, you're going to get up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no snooze. You're going to turn off the alarm if it's on your phone. And tomorrow morning, you're going to take 10 to 30 minutes, all for you. You can meditate. You can plan your day. You can print out the PDF we're going to mail you in a little bit. That's the journaling page from the 5-second journal, my journaling method. You can fill that out and see how that feels. But you're going to practice grabbing your attention and being deliberate and setting your day up to go in the direction you want it to go in. And something's going to surprise you when you do that. You're going to be training your mind to help you make your day go in the direction that you want it to go. And you're going to start noticing all kinds of connections and magical things that happen. I know it sounds really weird, but it's true. This is the beauty of what happens when you get deliberate about what you want to see in the world. You get deliberate about what you want to say to yourself. And as always, continue to spot those limiting beliefs when they rise up today. And the second you see yourself saying, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, why did I say something so stupid? Now's not a good time. I better not say what I really feel. You're going to interrupt that old default and you're going to insert something that's positive, because that is the work of doing a mindset reset. It's not a one and done. It's something you do all day long because you are fighting against a lifetime of limiting beliefs. All right. What else was I going to say? In case nobody else tells you today, I want to be the one to tell you that I love you. And I believe in your ability to make your life better. I believe in your ability to be happier. I believe in your ability to pursue your dreams. And that's why I'm here every day, to remind you of that fact and that you got this. Now, today we are building on your morning routine. We have already covered in week 1, default versus deliberate thinking. We have already covered, this is driving me nuts, this little line here. I think that's a little bit better. We've already I'm sorry. For those of you on Instagram, you can't see that there's like a lightsaber going through my face on the Facebook broadcast, but whatever. If I get closer, maybe that'll work because it is driving me bananas. This is what it's like to live with ADD. We have already covered deliberate versus default thinking. We've covered the science of visualization. We've talked about how to spot limiting beliefs and how to become the kind of person that when you notice that you're thinking this and it doesn't serve you, that you deliberately think that something that is positive, that is a story about you. I want to tell you something. Just this morning, I was talking to one of my favorite people, and she has the exact same story that I used to have, that she's a bad person. And so consequently, she sees evidence all over the place for where she's bad. And she's going through this big breakup right now. And the person that she is breaking up with, basically, while the breakup process was happening, he basically said to her, in a number of different ways, you're a bad person. Push the button, push the button, push the button, push the button. We all have buttons that anybody or anything can push. And that's why it's so important, if you have limiting beliefs from your past, that you change them. Because if you tell yourself that you're a bad person, you will see evidence that you are. And more importantly, you will also start to act consistently with a bad person. And here's the truth. You're not a bad person. My friend is an amazing person. I'm an amazing person. And so it is critical for you to take control of your life and of your thinking. And it starts with the story that you say about yourself. And so we were talking this morning about how in this next chapter post-breakup, the most important thing to go forward with is the belief and the deliberate thinking that you are a good person. Look for all the good things that you do. Look for the people that are around you that do love you deeply. Look at how compassionate you are. Look at the little changes that you're making. Look at the little wins all day. Look at how helpful you are. Find the evidence, and it's going to make it easier and easier and easier for you to continue to be deliberate about what you're thinking about. So we've already covered all this. You can go back and review all the videos on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page anytime that you want. Anybody can sign up for this, melrobbins.com/mindset reset. I want to give some shout outs to some people because I cannot believe how many people are changing their lives. Let me stop that. I actually can believe. I can believe how many of you are changing your lives. And here's why. It took me about 45 years to really seriously start to go to work on how I think, to dismantle the limiting beliefs that I have. And when I did, it was such a profound, game-changing level of personal development for me that I know personally how it can shift the ground that you're standing on when you shift the thoughts that you're thinking. And so I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that if you're actually trying the micro things that I'm telling you to do every single day that are building not only on decades of science and research, but they're building every day on one another. We started out with thinking habits, and right now you're in the middle of a training about your morning routine. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But when you make these tiny changes, particularly about how you think, it will change everything about your life because you don't realize it. But we walk through life with a filter, and that filter has been programmed by the stories that you tell yourself. And the filter reinforces the stories because that filter that you see the world through, wouldn't it be nice if we just saw the world through glitter? This filter that you have, if it's negative about yourself, you're only going to see negative things, and you're only going to have negative things come in. And when nice things happen to you, you're not going to believe that you deserve it. So it's essential that we identify the filter that you see the world through and we remove it. And we put something that's clear and that's amplifying and that's positive in its place. And one of the things that's really important in addition to the mental habits is your morning routine. And the reason why your morning routine is so important is because it's the start of your day. If you wake up and think crappy thoughts, you are setting the table to have that continue. And so I am training you to take control of your morning, and it begins with what you do as soon as you wake up. We've already covered why you should leave your phone in the outside of your bedroom at night. We've already covered the science behind why when the alarm gets up, you need to get up. You should not hit the snooze button because it puts you in a neurological state called sleep inertia that impacts your focus, your happiness, your mood. We have also talked about the fact that your dreams are worth 10 minutes. I actually think they're worth an hour, but most of us only have 10 minutes before the chaos begins. So I want you to find 10 lousy minutes for your dreams every morning. So after you turn off your alarm, you get out of bed, do not look at your phone. You go straight to a spot and you take this little template that we gave you for free. Just go to melrobbins.com/mindset reset. You can also find this, by the way, at 5secondjournal.com. So on the website 5secondjournal.com, you will find not only this downloadable template, but you're going to find a ton of videos about the science behind the journaling method I use, the science and research that's very recent about productivity. And today we're going to talk about my most favorite piece of research, and that comes from Harvard Business School, and it's called the Progress Principle. So I'm going to walk you through my journaling method. This is the one that I did today. Oh, you can't see it on Instagram. Hold on a second. There we go. And so today in my journal, first of all, we covered this yesterday, really important for you to start with assessing your mood. And the reason why we want you to assess your mood is because research proves that your mood first thing in the morning impacts your level of productivity, your sense of focus, and your happiness all day long. So super important as a mindfulness act to wake up and tune in and ask yourself, well, how am I feeling? Am I depleted or am I energized? In yesterday's video, I shared that I kind of circled this near the depleted end, the meh kind of end, because somebody had kept me awake in the hotel all night. Well, today I'm really good. And the reason why I'm really good, and this is probably too much information, is because I'd been kind of backed up after our holiday trip to Tanzania, if you know what I mean. And so yesterday, the train finally got moving again. And so I feel really good. I'm also home so I can cook dinner for the family. And I was able to drop off my son and pick up my son. And that just makes me feel really, really good. To feel even more energized, I went to yoga class today. And so this is what we covered in yesterday's video, but I'm just showing you. These questions take 5 seconds. And if you learn how to tune in, to read your energy, and then to think of one thing you could do to boost it. By boosting your mood, you're going to boost your focus, you're going to boost your productivity, you're going to boost your sense of control. It's pretty amazing. The next thing we're going to talk about is this puppy right here. This is the most powerful part of the 5-second journal. And again, don't buy it. You don't need to. We emailed you free templates that you can use. You don't ever need to buy this thing. You can just do this in a journal somewhere. You can do this in your own journal. You can do this in a notebook. You can do this in your head, whatever you want. This is the progress principle. This sucker right here has changed my life, and it helps me be a wildly successful woman. We're launching a brand new daytime talk show that's going to have a staff of 70 people, and it's 175 shows a year. My business partners, Mandy and Chris, and I run a media company in Boston. We have a project launching with Audible Originals on February 7th. We put out videos every single day on social media. We are engaging with more than 1 million people a day on social media. On top of that, we have a ton of, I'm delivering 47 speeches between now and the end of May, and I'm still married after 23 years, and my kids talk to me. So I think I'm doing pretty good. And part of it is because I've learned to leverage the progress principle. I don't try to get everything done. Every morning after I assess my mood, based on research from Harvard Business School, I leverage something called the progress principle. And this is what the progress principle states. The people that feel the most productive and the most satisfied with their work are people who make meaningful progress on something that matters to them. That's it. That's it. They're not the people that get 155,000 things done. The progress principle states that if you make little progress every single day, just incremental steps forward on something that matters to you, you will be more productive, you'll be more satisfied, you'll be happier, you'll be more fulfilled, you'll be more present. And I got to tell you, based on personal experience, this has been a game changer for me. So today, my top project, this is my top project. Brace yourself, because it's not that ground shaking. My top project today was simply to brain dump in one place all the loose things that I want to make sure are getting done in our company. That's it. All the projects that that's it. That was just the top project that popped into my mind. Then you're going to say, this project matters to me. Why? Well, it matters to me because it stresses me out when I feel like there are loose ends to things and when I feel like I don't know what's happening. And so I need to do this for me. What's one small action I can do to move forward? One small action, you want to see how incremental this is. The only action that I committed to taking today, based on the progress principle, was to carry my 5-second journal around so that I could use the other side to brain dump the things that I want to make sure that I'm capturing so I can go over this list with the team. That's it. That's it. And I've been brain dumping things as they come up. And there's not as many loose ends as I manifest in my head. But the good news is I'm making progress. I feel accomplished. I feel satisfied. And so will you. So all I want you to do today is I want you to continue everything that we've talked about. The kind of training part is over. We're trying to keep these training modules around 10 to 15 minutes. So the training part's over. Out of service to you, let me do a recap of what I want you to do today. And then I'm going to do some shout outs and I'm going to answer a few questions. So by way of recap, what is your assignment? Well, your assignment always and forever from this point forward, when you do a mindset reset, it's not an event, it's a process. It's something you practice all day long. The moment you notice that your thoughts are drifting to something that's not serving you, you're going to get deliberate and you're going to direct your thoughts to something that are positive. That's something you're going to do all day long. Visualization, also something that's super important. at the beginning of January, we covered the science of visualization. This is one of the most important videos I've ever done because I explain the reason why visualization works. And I also explain the two-step method for how to visualize based on science. So if you haven't watched that, go to January 1st or January 2nd, find the video, watch it, look through your emails. It's all there. But practice visualization. Now, the way you set yourself up for your morning routine, because that's what we're covering yesterday, today, and on the 11th day, we're going to do the final 2 prompts in the morning routine that I do. Tonight, I want you to plug your phone in outside your bedroom. You're going to turn off all the alerts. You're going to leave the ringer on, and you're going to set your alarm. You're going to go to bed. When the alarm goes off, no snooze button. Get up, turn off the alarm, and then go take those first 10 minutes of the day and you use them to create a powerful morning routine to help you get focused, to help you think positive things, to help you identify your priorities, and to help you make progress on your dreams, something that matters to you. I invite you to use the one that we emailed to you, the 5-second journal method. You're going to assess your mood, and you're going to do the progress principle. You can also move down to the other final prompts. I'll be explaining those in tomorrow's training. If you want to include visualization in your morning routine tomorrow, fantastic. If you have time to do a little micro exercise, fantastic. If you want to add in something else like 5 deep breaths or go walk the dog in the woods, whatever works for you, because if it works for you, you'll do it, okay? I'm trying to get you to become more deliberate about the way you're waking up and what you're thinking about and how you start your day so that you can figure out the best way that works for you. Now let's jump into a few questions, okay? You should never, 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 never hit the snooze button, okay? And let me explain why. Here's how I want you to wake up. When the alarm rings, get out of bed. Period. You want to be a happy person. You want to have a positive mindset. You want to take control of the anxiety, the depression, and the stress that you have. Do not allow yourself, number one, when that alarm goes off, to turn it off and lie in bed and start to ruminate in your mind about everything that you've got to do today and how stressed you feel, and to marinate in those negative thoughts. I do not want you to do that. You're going to use the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're going to get out of bed. The other thing I do not want you to do is I do not want you, like I used to do, I do not want you, when the alarm goes off, to reach over and tap the snooze button. The reason why I do not want you to ever tap the snooze button is because of how snoozing for a couple minutes impacts your neurology. It impacts your brain function. Again, this isn't something I made up. This is well-established research. You see, I used to be a chronic snooze button hitter. When Chris and I were going through a really rough time, or I notice in times in my life where I'm feeling stressed out or overwhelmed, when that alarm goes off, there's a small hesitation where I start to feel a little stressed and overwhelmed when I think about the day ahead. And it just feels so safe and so satisfying and so tempting to reach over and hit the snooze button and doze off for 9 minutes or 15 minutes. And then the alarm goes off again, and then I reach over and hit the snooze button, doze off for 9 to 15 minutes. And then the alarm goes off again, and then I reach over. And the reason why it's tempting to do that is because you're delaying having to deal with your life. You are giving yourself a false sense of control that I can find 9 to 15 minutes to just avoid having to deal with what I want to deal with. And so I don't want you to do that. And the reason why I don't want you to ever hit the snooze button is because of how dozing off for 9 to 15 minutes impacts the way that your brain works. So let me explain to you the science of sleep. Let me explain to you why the snooze button is such a dangerous thing to do for your productivity, your happiness, your mindsets, your ability to be a deliberate thinker, your ability to be in control of your life. And look, I know that at least 65% of adults hit the snooze button every single morning. So the reason why I don't want you to ever hit the snooze button, and why this is so important if you want to be in control of your mindset, of your happiness, of your mental health state, is because of the science of sleep. So You and I sleep in cycles. And the reason why we sleep, there's a lot of reasons why we sleep, but there's one main reason. Obviously, we fall asleep because our body needs to rest and rejuvenate. But there's another major reason for why we sleep, and it has to do with brain function. When you sleep, when you and I are falling asleep, half of our brain is allocated to running our body functions. The other half of our brain is able to basically just shut off and not really work. And while you and I are sleeping, do you know what your brain is busy doing? Your brain is busy taking all of the memories and things that happened to you today, and it is returning those memories and storing them in your brain, almost like returning books to a giant library system. If you didn't sleep every night, you would have no memories. One of the main reasons why we sleep is because by resting and allowing part of your brain to shut down for a while, your mind has the ability to store all of your memories from today. You wouldn't have any memories if you didn't sleep every night. And so part of the reason why sleep's so critical has to do with your brain function. It has to do with your cognitive abilities. And so the way that sleep works is we fall asleep. We sleep in cycles of about 75 to 90 minutes, and then we start another one. And we go into another sleep cycle for 75 to 90 minutes. And then we typically start another one, and we start another sleep cycle that goes 75 to 90 minutes. And after 2 or 3 sleep cycles, or heck, if you're lucky, 4 of them, your body and brain go into a mode where for about 2 hours, your brain just goes into a state where it's getting ready to wake up. So for those of you that wake up naturally before an alarm goes off, or the alarm goes off and you've had anywhere from 6 hours plus of sleep, your mind is now in a state, it's not in a sleep cycle, where it is ready to wake up. It is ready to start the day. It is ready to be deliberate. If you wake up in that state and then you reach over and hit the snooze button and you doze off for 9 to 15 minutes, what do you suppose your brain starts again? If you're thinking a sleep cycle, you'd be absolutely right. And how long does a sleep cycle last? A sleep cycle lasts 75 to 90 minutes. So you drift off into a sleep cycle, your brain does, which lasts 75 to 90 minutes. All of a sudden, the alarm goes off 9 to 15 minutes later. Your brain is in a sleep cycle. You are in a medical, neurological state right now that scientists call sleep inertia. It means that by falling into a sleep cycle and waking yourself up 9 to 15 minutes in it, the cortic region of your brain is now trapped in a sleep cycle. And do you realize it takes your brain, once you're awake, 4 hours to shake itself loose of the state of sleep inertia? Why is sleep inertia a bad thing? Studies prove that when you're in a state of sleep inertia, it impacts your speed of processing, it impacts your ability to focus, it impacts your ability to do any kind of strategic thinking. So for you, if you're a chronic snoozer like I used to be, and you sleep and then the alarm goes off, then you hit snooze, then you drift into a sleep cycle, then the alarm goes off, then you hit snooze, then you drift into a sleep cycle, and then the alarm goes off and you get up, your brain, you know how you say when you're a snoozer, you're always like, I didn't get any sleep, and you feel so groggy and tired, and you keep saying, I didn't get enough sleep last night. I didn't get enough sleep last night. Guess what? Has nothing to do with how much sleep you got. It has to do with the fact that when the alarm went off, instead of getting up, you started another sleep cycle. And then when the alarm went off 15 minutes later, you woke yourself up, and now your brain is trapped in a sleep cycle. You're in a state of sleep inertia. It has nothing to do with how much sleep you got. It has everything to do with how you woke up. You literally have screwed yourself over. And so here's the deal. Here's one more piece of proof I can give you. You know how on the weekends or on a day that you're not working, the alarm goes off and you decide, oh, I'm just going to turn the alarm off and I'm going to snooze for a minute. You don't turn on the snooze button. You just turn the alarm off. Have you ever noticed when you go back to sleep on your own, how long do you normally drift off of sleep for? An hour to 2 hours. That's because your brain is executing a sleep cycle. you do it naturally. You've had that experience before, haven't you? Where you've turned off the alarm, drifted back to sleep, and holy cow, you sleep for like 90 minutes. That's a sleep cycle. So that's why I never want you to hit the snooze button. Because when you hit the snooze button, you force yourself into a sleep cycle, you wake yourself up in the middle of it, and then the first 4 hours of the day, you are battling sleep inertia. There's only one way to shock yourself out of sleep inertia, and that's to step in a cold shower. So if you ever have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning when you probably are in the middle of a sleep cycle, just step in a cold shower. That'll shock your brain awake, and you'll be out of a state of sleep inertia. If you keep hitting the snooze button, I am going to tell you something. It's going to make your anxiety worse. It's going to make your depression heavier. It's going to make your attitude negative. It's going to make your ability to focus harder. It's going to make your ability to be deliberate harder. And the simple solution is to force yourself out of bed. Today, what we're going to be talking about is we're going to be talking about the powerful connection between your mindset and your morning routine. And I'm going to give you an assignment at the end of this training. Tomorrow, we're going to build on this. So this entire week, what we're going to be talking about are the components to your morning, because your mindset and having a powerful mindset and being deliberate about what you're going to think about and what you're not going to think about, it begins the moment you wake up. And believe it or not, how you wake up, not when, but how you wake up, and the first few things that you do in the morning will dictate your mood for the rest of the day, which based on science is going to impact your productivity, and it's going to impact how you feel about your life. And it will also impact your mindset for the rest of the day. And that's why now that we've done in days 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, we've done foundational training. You've learned a tremendous amount about how your brain works, about your default network, about how to be a deliberate thinker. You've spotted your limiting beliefs. You've learned how to think this, not that. You've started the skill and the practice of the skill. Remember, it's a process, not an event, to be a positive thinker. You've started practicing catching your limiting beliefs and swapping from that default way of viewing the world and thinking about yourself and choosing deliberate thoughts. Now let's talk about physical habits that you can adopt that are very simple, that will be life-changing, because they will impact your ability to be in control of what you're thinking and to be deliberate. And that begins with how you wake up. So let me talk about the morning. You can think about your morning routine and whether or not you even have one in the exact same way that we think about the brain. You're either defaulting to something that you've always done that may no longer serve you, or you're getting deliberate and choosing to do something that's more positive and powerful because you deserve it. And that starts with your morning routine. So if you're the kind of person where the alarm goes off and you hit the snooze, and then the alarm goes off again and you hit the snooze, and eventually you roll out of bed and you step into your day and you maybe drink a big dark cup of coffee and you skip breakfast and you skip exercise and you're tired. If that's how you start your day, your mindset is going to be impacted by that. If your alarm goes off and you immediately reach for your phone and you start scrolling through Instagram while you're in bed and looking at Facebook, and you are putting all kinds of stuff in your brain that triggers FOMO, that triggers insecurity, that triggers anxiety, that is going to impact your mindset for the rest of the day. And so starting tonight, I want you to take control and be more deliberate about your habits in the morning. And what we're going to do this week is we are going to build, based on science, the most powerful morning routine that you could possibly have. Sorry, I'm just moving this around so that the Instagram channel is brighter. The most powerful morning routine that you could possibly have based on science. It's super simple. It will help you become a more deliberate and positive thinker. And I'm going to walk you through step by step. And you're going to be doing this with more than 230,000 people around the world. So what is the assignment tonight? The assignment tonight is very simple, and you're going to hate it. You're totally able to do this, and most of you are not going to. You're going to let your limiting beliefs and your default mode of thinking stop you from making this simple change. And the thing that I want you to do tonight, this is your assignment. This smartphone right here, I don't want it anywhere near your bedroom. Your assignment is when you go to bed tonight, you are to plug your smartphone in outside of your bedroom. If you live in a studio apartment, put it on the other side of the room. I don't want this phone anywhere near where you sleep. And there's a simple reason why. You're addicted to it. And if it's next to you while you're sleeping, as soon as you wake up, without even thinking, the default mode of your brain will mindlessly reach for this, and you will lie in bed and you will look at your phone. And when you do that, you are putting in garbage into your brain before you even get out of bed. If you wake up anxious, if you wake up overwhelmed, if you wake up feeling like you're losing some imaginary race, if you wake up and you feel dread, if you wake up and feel negative or exhausted, I'm telling you, this is the reason why. And if you want to have a positive mindset this year, and you deserve to, then you also have to get very deliberate about your habits and about your morning routine in particular, because how you wake up matters. How you wake up determines your mood. How you wake up determines on your phone. Hold on, IG is pausing a lot. Hold on a second. Let's see here. Yikes. All right, hold on a second, IG. I'm getting a lot of, let's get on Wi-Fi. Rendezvous. Let's see if that works. Looks like I'm on. Let's go back to Instagram. Okay, let's see if that works. Is that better, Mandy? Thank you for your patience, by the way. Normally, our streams are not as spotty, but when we started this program, I knew that I was going to be traveling 24 out of the 35 days that we're broadcasting live, and tech can be a challenge. And so for those of you that have been hanging in there on Instagram, if it's spotty, jump over to Facebook Live, jump over to YouTube, jump over to Twitter. We're streaming on all 4 platforms at once. And we will also email you a link to this video, which is one of the reasons why, if you haven't yet, sign up for melrobbins.com/mindset reset, because we curate all this information for you and we tee it up for you every day. So thank you for your patience as I am broadcasting from my parents' place. My mother's 70th birthday is tomorrow. And for those of you that are just tuning in because the stream has been dicey, we're talking about the powerful connection between your mindset and your morning routine. In fact, I would say it's not even powerful, it's critical. You cannot have a positive, in control mindset if you don't have control of your mornings. And it makes a lot of sense from a common sense standpoint, right? If you wake up and you're behind the ball, and if you wake up and you've got your phone in your face and you're not even out of bed yet, and you're looking at everybody's perfect life on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter, or you're reading the news and getting stressed out, you're absolutely, positively not going to start your day off right. So the assignment that I have for you is a very simple one, and it's one that you're going to be tempted to ignore. Do not ignore this. Tonight, when you go to bed, you are to put your phone as far away from your bed as you possibly can. If you have a bedroom, get your phone charging outside of your bedroom. Turn the vibration off, and you can turn the ringer on. And here's why. I know many of you are single parents. I know many of you have jobs where people need to get a hold of you. Instagram is reconnecting again, so I don't know what to make of this. I apologize for the feed on Instagram, everybody. But if you start your day by looking at this, your mind is hijacked and you're going to be playing catch up all day long. I want to give your brain a fighting chance to be deliberate. Tonight, what I want you to do is sleep without your phone. Plug your phone in outside of your room. And then when you get up, you're going to notice something. You're going to notice that you automatically reach for your phone. Your phone's not going to be there. You see, we're setting a trap. We're setting a trap so that you don't fall into the default mode of laying in bed and looking at that thing. I want to give you a chance to catch your thoughts. I want to give you a chance to do a couple things in the morning based on science that will give you control over your day, that will boost your mood, and that will help you develop a much more deliberate and positive mindset. In this video, I am going to teach you not one, but two research-backed, science-supported tools you can use in order to get out of bed when the alarm rings, in order to beat the anxiety, dread, or depression that pins you down, because I'm sure you know that the second you get out of bed and you get moving and you start your day, you start to feel better. Oftentimes, laying in bed thinking about your problems is the worst place that you can be. And so the other reason why I wanted to make this video is because a little while ago, I posted this video of me online, a short little video demonstrating how I slither out of bed. And slithering out of bed is a brand new technique that a therapist that I'm working with taught me how to do, because the anxiety that I was feeling in my life was so overwhelming. I was having a hard time getting out of bed. So what are we going to cover in this video? Well, I'm going to cover two things that you can do to help you push through any anxiety, overwhelm, depression, whatever is like keeping you pinned in bed, okay? We're going to talk about the 5-second rule, which is what I would call a neck up tool. It's a tool that works on your mind and gives you control over your thinking so that you can take control and force yourself out of bed. And then I'm going to demonstrate what slithering out of bed looks like, which is what my therapist refers to as a neck down embodied tool that will help you on those days that you just can't force yourself to do it. Okay, so let me demonstrate both ways. So first we're going to talk about the 5-second rule. So, and I've got a bunch of your questions here because boy, oh boy, did you guys love that slithering video. So you're in bed. And for me, the bed is my favorite place to be, okay? I just love being in bed. And this isn't even my bed. This is a bed in a rental. We're here at the beach for a little bit, and this is the bed in the rental. So it's not even my bed. I still love this bed. So you're sleeping, right? And so for me, I'm somebody who has struggled with anxiety for probably 4 decades. I think if you can be, I should probably just sit up and talk to you. I think if you should be, we only just met. I shouldn't be laying down as I'm sharing this with you. If you could come out of the womb having a panic attack, that was me. I was the kind of kid who was always nervous, had a worried stomach. I got sent home from every camp I went to because I was homesick. And I also experienced sexual abuse when I was 9 years old. In the middle of the night at a sleepover, an older kid climbed on top of me and I disassociated. I literally left my body. And the next morning, after it happened, I woke up and I just felt this overwhelming sense of dread. I knew something bad had happened. I was scared. I was overwhelmed by it. And I have to tell you, and I share this because it's such a common experience, there are very few mornings in the last 44 years since that initial morning where I have woken up and felt like okay and calm. Most mornings, I wake up and my body still has that stored sense of dread in it. Now, about 13 years ago, when my anxiety was really bad, as you can tell, it's not very bad right now, I invented something I call the 5-second rule. And the 5-second rule is very simple. The moment you hear that alarm ring and you feel the resistance or the hesitation pinning you down, you're just going to count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay? And then you're going to move. And so I started counting 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I had to launch myself out of bed every morning. And we call this a neck up approach because you're using your thinking and your mental power to create the strength and discipline to push through the resistance you feel to getting out of bed. Now, you're not going to want to do this. I get it, because you're cozy. You also wake up in the morning and your cortisol levels are their highest. If you have any kind of stored trauma in your body from abuse or from growing up in a chaotic household, you probably feel a sense of overwhelm every morning. That's normal. It's okay. You can still get out of bed. If you're not a morning person and you just hate getting up because you're cranky, you can still get out of bed, and the 5-second rule will help you. Here's how you do it. So the alarm goes off, right? I typically sleep like this. I burrow. The second you hear the alarm go off, you're going to count backwards. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you're going to throw the sheets off, put your feet on the ground, and start your day. Walk into the bathroom. Okay, that's what you're going to do. You're going to start moving. So you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That moves you from the subconscious part of your brain, where your habit of overthinking and hitting the snooze button and feeling heavy and laying in bed and thinking about all the things that are wrong in your life and dreading your day, which only makes you want to go, I don't want to get up. When you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you cut off those thinking loops. You activate your prefrontal cortex. It draws your focus to this part of your brain, and it gives you a moment where you can choose. The movement's critical. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Put your feet on the floor. Start moving, and you will feel in control. Okay, you'll feel that resistance leave your body. And what's super cool about practicing the 5-second rule in the morning is that resistance that you feel going from a comfortable, safe, just cozy place in your bed and learning how to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push yourself to choose a different, harder behavior, namely getting up. When you build the muscle of being able to push through the resistance and the dread, you can do it anywhere in your life. So if you're at a meeting at work and you feel nervous about speaking up, if you've been practicing the 5-second rule in the morning by pushing yourself out of bed and getting your day started, that little skill of courage in the morning is a skill you can now tap into to have courage at work, to speak up in meetings. You can use that same skill, pushing yourself out of bed, to push yourself off the couch and out the door to go for a walk. You can use that same skill in the morning of pushing yourself out of bed to push yourself out the door and force yourself to go hang out with friends, even though you feel like, you'd rather kind of stay in because you're feeling a little nervous about it. So that skill of recognizing those moments where you start to give in to resistance and doubt and overwhelm and anxiety, and practicing this little countdown that switches gears in your brain and then moving, that is a skill that will pay dividends far beyond helping you start your day and set your day up, which is so important because on those days that you actually get out of bed and you do a few simple habits in the morning to set yourself up for success, your whole day's better. Okay, so that's the 5-second rule. If you want to learn more about that, you should listen to the 5-second rule audiobook on Audible. But now let me teach you this second technique. The second technique is called slithering. So I was introduced to slithering out of bed very recently. I've only been practicing slithering out of bed for about 6 weeks. And what had happened in my life is I had had a bunch of major life changes go down. My husband and I had sold a family home of 26 years and we're moving to a very rural area, which is a huge change. I was making major changes in my business, which were very, very confronting. I had one of our kids have a bit of a mental breakdown, and as a parent, that was terrifying. And all these things happened literally within about a 5-day window, and I just felt knocked over by life. And the other fact is that I think that for me personally, trying to navigate my business and my family and my mental health and so many changes through the pandemic and running a company it's just beat the heck out of me. And after 2 years, I was sort of paper thin in terms of my emotional resilience. And so when our house sold and I freaked out, and our son started having panic attacks and I freaked out, and then all kinds of changes happened in my business and I freaked out in a 4-day window, I had an empty tank in terms of emotional resilience to be able to handle it. And I started experiencing these massive waves of anxiety. I hadn't experienced anything this terrifying in 23 years. That's the truth. And I would wake up every morning and I'd feel the anxiety start here, and it would just go all the way up my body and up my neck, and I would feel pinned down with terror. What have I done? Why did we sell the house? I'm not going to be happy. I'll never see my kids. How are we going to help our son? I'm really scared he's not going to be okay. What do I do if something happens to him? How am I going to handle it? Like, just the churn of angst and worry and concern and fear. And I was trying to count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But the depression and the changes and the overwhelm were too much. I couldn't push through the heaviness that I felt. I felt like there was like a semi-truck parked on me every single morning, the weight of the world. And so my therapist said, Mel, between all these changes and the anxiety it's provoking and the depression that you're feeling and the grief that you're feeling, closing such a big chapter by selling your family home, and the fact that you're in menopause, this is a tsunami that's going on in your body and your spirit and your emotions. And she said, the 5-second rule is wildly effective, but it's a neck up approach. You need a neck down body approach to this. And it had never occurred to me that there was a tool that would embody your strength. Instead of mustering through something, which is what the 5-second rule is so effective in doing, giving you that push, that moment of courage, that moment of motivation, there is a more embodied approach that you can take in these moments where you don't have the energy. And so you surrender to what's happening. Wait till you see this. It's really weird and it's really cool. And I believe that this is called somatic therapy. And there's lots of types of somatic therapy, from meditation to people shake and they tap. But this is an embodied approach to those mornings where the depression, the problems in your life, the sadness that you feel, the grief, the anxiety, it just is too heavy to bear. You are going to give into it. You're going to surrender to it. You're going to slither and fall out of bed. Because if you think about it, slithering to the ground is succumbing to the heaviness, isn't it? You're moving with the resistance. And I'm going to demonstrate it in a minute. So you're going to move with the resistance. And then you're going to roll around on the floor in any kind of shape that feels to you like the resistance and heaviness in your body. So you might roll around in a ball, you might stretch out, you might writhe. And then as you're rolling around, at some point, you will feel ready to roll onto your hands and knees. And then get this. Then you're going to crawl. And you're going to start to crawl across the floor toward the bathroom. And then at some point, you're just going to be ready to stand up. It is the strangest, most amazing thing. And so I've been practicing this for about 6 weeks. And I'm now at the point where I don't really feel that anxiety in the morning anymore. The slithering has really worked. I don't dread the feeling because I know what to do if counting backwards isn't enough. So let me show you slithering, this sort of embodied approach to getting out of bed. So when you wake up and you feel that heaviness, what I would do is the first thing I would do is I would high five my heart, which I taught you in the high five habit. I put a hand here and a hand here, and I just say, I'm okay, I'm safe, I'm loved. And that hand right here and right here, it just really grounds me, and it tones the vagus nerve, which helps to flip from a state of fight or flight, dread, fleeing, into a calmer place. And then I think about the fact that I'm about to slither out of this bed. I don't want to slither out of this bed. I don't feel ready to slither out of this bed. This is not something that makes me happy. This is not something that I want to do. Slithering out of bed in a moment where I'm depressed or grieving or anxious because I know that I'll feel better once I get moving, slithering out of bed is what I need to do. And so there would be mornings that I would use the 5-second rule to initiate it. So you can count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're under your covers, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then, you literally move in the direction of the floor. You just succumb to the resistance, and then you're gonna move around. And, there would be mornings, honestly, in the past 6 weeks that I would get to this point and I'd want to crawl in a fetal position like this, and I'd lay there for a minute, and then the dog would come over and lick me, and then I'd move like this. And then the more that I did it, the less I would lay on the ground. I'd just kind of roll around and stretch, and then eventually when you're ready, whatever shape you want, because it's the resistance that you're feeling, you get on all fours and you just start to crawl. And you're staying low to the ground because you're giving into the heaviness, but you're not throwing in the towel. You're moving with it. You're moving through it. And at some point, as you're crawling, you will feel ready to just stand up. And it's almost like that sort of physical moving moves all that resistance out of you and through you in a way that is organic, it's doable. It feels like, in a weird way, it sort of acknowledges and honors the depression and the grief or anxiety or sadness or overwhelm that you're feeling. And it's super empowering because you don't have to feel energized or motivated. And there's a lot of mornings where I don't. And knowing that I can use this technique to embody and move with the heaviness inside me as a way to move through it and get my power back, it's absolutely incredible. So I want you to try it. I want you to try slithering. I'm going to answer some of your questions because you guys blew up my DMs and my comments when I posted that video. How long you've been practicing the slither, and why did you start? Well, I've been practicing for 6 weeks, and I started because my therapist recommended it as a way to feel empowered while I was facing so many changes in my life that felt too big to bear. That even though life is overwhelming, you still have power inside you to move through the things that are scaring the hell out of you right now. And sometimes you don't have to muster up a ton of strength. Sometimes all you got to do is slither. Seriously. When would I use this technique? Well, you would use this technique, I think, any moment where it's just too much to bear. Like I kept saying to my therapist, intellectually, I know that I need to get up. Intellectually, I know that this kind of period from 5:30 a.m. until 10:30 a.m., that it's going to get better with time. But physically, I can't push through it. And I'm starting to get scared of it. And so that's when she said, I think you need to lean into it. I think you need to take an embodied approach. And so I think anytime you feel that way, whether you're on the couch or maybe for you, it's not getting up in the morning, maybe you spend so much time at night kind of unwinding from the day that you have a really hard time getting from the couch to your bed. So maybe for you, it's like an end of the day transition from one place that you're sunk into your bedroom. Have I noticed a difference? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've noticed a huge difference because I now have another tool in my toolbox. I mean, I've been using the 5-second rule for 14 years to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, push myself out of bed, force myself out of bed. This feels like something gentle and just powerful in its own way. And I love having 2 different things I can do. What if I have a dog who will jump all over me? It's actually great because the dog is worried about you, because the dog can sense all that heaviness in you. And the dog also will probably bring some playful energy, which is probably going to make it easier and faster for you to stand up because their energy will transfer to you. What if my bed is high up, or I have a wood floor, or I sleep and I don't have the mobility to fall out of bed? That's a great question. If you have a high bed, roll the foot out first, and then you can kind of slide down, like that, and do that. I think if you sleep on the floor, maybe just roll around on the floor. Right? So if you're, on a futon on the floor, or you sleep on a thermarest or whatever, just roll off the thermarest or roll away from where you are so that you get kind of moving. That's probably a great way to start. And so whatever the slither or the slide or the embodiment of moving through the heaviness means to you, that's what you want to do. Let's see. Can you teach this technique to your kids? Yes, absolutely. I think it's great for kids, actually, because you're honoring how they feel. You're not trying to correct them or coerce them. You're actually creating a deeper connection with them because you're honoring that they don't want to get out of bed. And so it's a morning and you're going to slither, you're going to slide out of bed so you can have fun with it. What if you have a hard time feeling stuff in your body? I actually think this would help. Maybe it's hard to get out of bed because you are disconnected from your body. I was surprised, I was kind of scared to try this because if I already felt so scared in my body, this is gonna sound weird, but if I already felt so scared in my body, hiding under the covers gave me a false sense of safety, right? I'm hiding from the world, even though I hate the feelings of my body. So there was something scary about allowing myself to slither out of that safe cocoon where I'm hiding from the world into the floor where you're open and all this stuff. And so I get that. But I've been empowered by how quickly that heaviness that pinned me to the bed leaves as I roll and move and start crawling and walking. And the more you do it, the more you'll notice the faster you go from crawling to actually standing up. I'm gonna do it the questions. Oh, we've got one more. Can I use somatic therapy in other areas of my life? Absolutely. Somatic therapy, I believe, is just using your body as a way to move through things, whether it's meditation or it's deep breathing, or I would imagine that the cold exposure therapy and the ice baths that I do are a form of somatic therapy, yoga, regardless of what form you practice, Tai Chi, even going outside, hiking, spending time in nature, deeper breathing. Those are all forms of somatic therapy that we all need to integrate more into our day-to-day life. You said something really interesting about morning routine. So tell me what happened.
Well, so I've been doing Spring It On, which I've been loving. And, last week did a little friend cleanse.
Yep.
In a good way.
Yep.
And, this week is all about the morning routine and the evening routine. And I said, I feel like I have morning routine envy.
Now, how many of you have morning routine envy? That you read about all these influencers and these famous people and their fabulous morning routines with the infrared sauna and the meditation for 45 minutes and the vegan macrobiotic blue algae whatchamacallit thing. And I
feel like I was like, I get to see Mel. Maybe she'll just tell me what to do.
I'm going to tell you what to do.
I feel like I need to know because I feel like I've listened to friends. I've tried a couple of their, and I do this and I put my and have gratitude. And I think you really do need to do what feels most organic to you, but my instinct is to reach for my phone. I mean, that's honest.
How many of you, are you somebody that the second that you wake up, you know you should practice gratitude, but you feel a little eye roll about that. You know you should exercise, but you just don't want to because you're not a morning person. And your first instinct is to reach for your phone. If you can relate to this, put your hands up. Put your hands up. Yep, okay. So here's the thing about morning routines. I think morning routine envy is a real thing. And I do believe that a lot of people lie about their morning routines. I think lying about your morning routine is a real thing. I think pretending you have the perfect morning routine is a real thing. I'm about, when I'm home, I'm almost 80% in my morning routine. I get it done because it's super simple.
Right, so I mean, I think I need a simple one.
Yes. And when I'm traveling, I almost never get the whole thing done because there's too many excuses. I am in a different time zone. What's wrong? You're looking at me. Oh, Megan gave me a look.
No, I have an itch in my ear.
Oh, you have an itch in your ear?
Jeremy's gonna get it.
Thank you.
And so I think the key to having a morning routine, and morning routines are critical because how you start your day has a massive proven impact on how your day turns out. There's one piece of research that I think is really profound, and this comes from Sean Anker. I talked about this yesterday, but I'm gonna tell you this too, Susie. If you consume 3 minutes, just 3 minutes of negative news, of negative television, of negative emails, maybe stressful emails from work or stressful texts from friends, you have more than a 50% chance 8 hours later to say you had a bad day. And the reason why is because of what consuming that kind of information does to your mind. It literally sets your mind up to be on the lookout for things going wrong. And so the reason why a morning routine is actually so important is because, number one, it determines what your priority for the day is. And we also know based on research that your mood in the morning, it impacts your productivity all day long.
For sure.
So here's what I do. Then this will get rid of your morning routine envy because you have a 14-year-old son.
I do. So my mornings are different every day.
Okay.
Like sometimes getting him off to school, or sometimes I have an early job, or sometimes, so it's not like, oh, every day and then I have to be at work by 9, and that's just not my real life.
Yeah, that's not my real life. That is not real life.
No.
I don't think that's anybody's real life at this point in the world, right? But we look at other people's morning routines and are like, how do you have 2 hours to do all that? I'm sorry. Unless you live a fantasy life.
Well, I do have fantasies of like, I'm going to wake up and get into down dog, and then I'm going to, like, it's like I have fantasies of that. I do.
I love that. Okay, I do too. And none of those fantasies come true.
No, because I'm not in the mood.
Oh, good. Okay, so there's major takeaways today. First of all, if you're not getting your morning routine done, it's too complicated. Secondly, if you're banking on your mood being the motivator, you've already lost because you will actually never be in the mood to get out of a warm, cozy, awesome bed. And thinking that your mood is what you need first is why most of us fail.
Okay.
You have to make a decision because you know that even though it's painful to get out of bed and even though it's painful to not reach for your phone, you have to make a decision that you're not going to because of the impact it's going to have on the rest of your day. And so there's only one thing I want you to do.
Okay.
You ready?
Tell me.
When the alarm goes off, you're going to get up.
Yep.
Okay? And then do you use your phone as an alarm?
I do, but most days I don't need an alarm. I just body clock.
Wow. I do not have that issue.
Today I needed an alarm, but
okay.
Most days, because we sort of get ready for school, the whole thing.
Great. Okay, so I prefer that you not put your phone in your bedroom.
Okay.
That way you can't reach for it.
Okay.
Because it's a habit to reach for it and you don't even realize that you're reaching for it. And so what I would prefer that you do is that you put it in your bathroom or you put it in your kitchen or you put it on the floor in the corner.
Okay.
And since you have a 14-year-old who needs you, just leave the ringer on but turn the buzzer off. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you need me, call me.
Okay.
He will text you in the middle of the night, but he probably won't call.
Right. Well,
you know
he
what I'm
can
saying?
also walk down the hall.
Yeah, he can walk down the hall.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, so that's what you're going to do. You're going to get up, and then you're going to do something that I call self before sell.
Okay.
I want you to find, let's start with 5 minutes.
Okay.
Just 5 minutes. Because you can find 5 minutes even if you have a 5 a.m. wake-up call to go do an early makeup appointment, right? Or brows appointment.
Yeah.
You're going to find 5 minutes for self before cell, wherever my cell, we're going to use this as a cell phone. And the reason why I want you to do that is because I want you to take 5 minutes, make your cup of coffee, and I want you can either do a gratitude practice where you literally just say, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. Now here's a trick about gratitude. Writing down what you're grateful for doesn't work unless you do it this way. Because if I ask you what you're grateful for, everybody says the same thing. I'm grateful to be alive, I'm grateful for my health, and I'm grateful for my family. And that's so generic that you're not retraining your brain.
Right.
You've got to add in the because. I'm grateful for X because.
Okay.
And the added detail will make you change up what you say, and it will also train your mind in a way that's more detailed, so it actually has a lasting impact on the way that you view the world. So you can either do a gratitude practice, or you can do what I do.
Sitting for all this?
Wherever you want.
Okay.
Away from your phone.
Not in bed?
I'd prefer you get out of bed. Yes, good question. Get out of bed. I would prefer you actually get up and move away from your bedroom.
Okay.
And just start you can be making a cup of coffee as you're doing this.
Yeah.
Here's what I do. The thing that I ask myself is, what is the one thing that matters most to me today? And when you ask yourself that question, you've now just set your number one priority. It could be that you make it to your son's theater show, right? It could be that you do a great job at the 11 o'clock appointment. It could be that you spend 30 minutes working on something related to your mobile brow service, right? What's it called?
Flybrow.
Flybrow. You're in LA, Flybrow. There
And
you
San
go.
Francisco and New York.
And San Francisco and New York, Flybrow. Little entrepreneur right here. Awesome. It could be that you're just going to find 20 minutes to really work on, I don't know, you're going to do a Google search and see what other brands are doing. Just one thing. I only want you to think of one thing.
Okay.
And what you're going to be leveraging is something called the progress principle.
Okay.
It's a piece of research from Harvard Business School.
Okay.
And people that focus on one thing that matters to them every day, the reports around how much momentum it creates, you're more than 60% more likely to actually get that thing done.
Oh, I love that.
And more importantly, it gives you control before you let the world in.
Yes. This is so manageable. This is good.
Yes, see, that's the thing. It has to be manageable or you won't do it.
Right.
That's why I'm not putting downward dog in.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not putting in, if the gratitude thing is not your thing, don't do it.
But the gratitude thing feels the most organic and
Yep.
like believable.
Okay.
And all the other things
Yeah.
I thought about.
Yeah, so all I want you to do, what are you going to do? Give me just the simple steps that you're going to start doing as your 5-minute morning routine.
Well, I'm gonna put the phone not next to my bed. I'm gonna get up, and while I'm doing other things, possibly spend 5 minutes thinking about the one thing I intend to do that day
That matters to
that
you.
matters to me.
Yes. Okay? And by doing that, putting yourself before your cell, when you think about it just from a common sense standpoint, what does that mean about how you are starting your day?
I'm prioritizing me.
Boom. That is the most important thing that you could do in your morning. The most important thing is that you prioritize yourself, because we know once you pick up your phone, your entire day is hijacked and gone.
That's true.
Yes.
And also emails are like for other people responding to this email.
Yes, absolutely. You know, in its simplest terms, I'm on a mission to get every human being in the world to add one simple thing to their morning routine. And it is called the high five habit. And here's what it is. Every morning after you brush your teeth and you get that gunk out of your mouth so you're not spreading that nasty breath everywhere, okay? I want you to take a moment, put your toothbrush down, and look at the human being in the mirror. That's not your reflection. That is a human being who needs you. A human being who's beaten down, who feels forgotten, who is so sick and tired of your criticism. And I want you to just stand there and look at them and take a moment, because the rest of your day is going to be about everybody else. And then I don't want you to say a thing. This is the genius of this habit. You can be on your lowest morning, which I was when I, again, divine intervention or stupidity. You can be the judge, right? It was April 2020, and I was having a moment in my life where I just felt overwhelmed by life. I was waking up, the anxiety had come back, I felt like life was unfair. I had lost my dream job. We were in the middle of the pandemic. My kids were in a state of huge grief and anger and frustration because university, had closed and, now they're dealing with it. I had a bunch of like all of a sudden my business is imploding. And, don't forget, just over 10 years ago, I was in a crisis financially where my husband and I were about to lose we couldn't even pay for groceries. My dad was lending us money.
Yeah.
And so it was triggering all of that. And I was thinking this, like, I've worked so hard. I'm a good person. Like, how could you be doing this to me? Like, I don't deserve, like, just.
And you were pretty successful at that point already, right?
God, successful.
I
was the number one female motivational speaker in the world. I had a daytime syndicated talk show in the United States, so 175 shows a year, giving advice. I, had the 5-second rule book, which was self-published and a huge millions of copies sold.
But I think that's the powerful thing about this story. Even with all that success, you were still racked with self-doubt and anxiety and negative thoughts.
Because I hadn't had the biggest breakthrough of my entire life yet. And I had it one morning in April of 2020. You see, the 5-second rule is extraordinary, but it doesn't address what I believe is everybody's fundamental issue. And everybody's fundamental issue is that you either hate yourself or you do nothing but judge yourself. And this habit of relentless self-criticism and relentless self-rejection is the reason why you're unhappy. It's the reason why you're never satisfied. It's the reason why you can't take a compliment and why you're uncomfortable feeling celebrated. And it all comes down to the fact that when you stand in front of the mirror every single morning, you have this really subtle way that's not so subtle of starting your day by rejecting yourself. And I'm going to unpack this because it's unbelievably powerful when you start to truly understand this. Because if you can't look in the mirror and authentically see a human being that you respect, that you encourage, that you like, that you're cheering for, I'm going to even leave love off the table because I think that is so unattainable for where people are right now. Let's just go with, can you accept yourself? Can you like yourself? Can you see a person that's worthy of support, worthy of your encouragement? Can we just start with that baseline? Because for my research, the average person cannot. From my research, 50% of men and women do not or cannot look at themselves in the mirror because they are either disgusted by the person they see or they are disappointed by them. And for those of us that can look in the mirror, we're still rejecting ourselves because we focus on what we don't like, or we start to mindlessly think about all the things that we haven't done right or that we didn't do yet. On this particular morning, April 2020, I'm overwhelmed by my life. I drag myself into the bathroom. I immediately see my reflection and I'm like, oh, God, you look like hell. I start ticking off all the things, the saggy neck, one boob lower than the other, like, how exhausted I look, the gray hair coming in, how old I'm starting to seem. Yeah. And then the mind, once it goes negative, keeps going in that direction unless you're 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, not thinking about that. But so my mind's like going down the drain. I'm like, why'd I get up so late? I got a Zoom call in 8 minutes. God, you didn't even, text him back yet. And the dog still needs to be. And I'm like, the beat down, the boom, boom, boom starts. And, I don't know what came over me. But that morning standing there, could not think of a thing to say. And here's the important part. When you feel like shit, when you're overwhelmed by your life, you're not going to believe a pep talk anyway. Because it doesn't match how you feel. And so for whatever reason, I literally just raised my hand and I high-fived the woman that I saw in the mirror.
because she looked like she needed a high five. She looked like she needed somebody to say, it's going to be okay. You can do this. Get out there. And, from that very first one, it wasn't like lightning came crashing through the ceiling and, stuck me in the head. That's not what happened. But there's definitely a switch inside each and every one of us.
Yeah.
So, think about the walls here.
Yeah.
Even when the lights are off, there's electricity in these walls. Even during your worst moments, there is vitality ripping through your veins. There is an electrical life force within you. And life can turn that switch off, but it's still there. There was something about this high five action that felt like a flip, like the switch flipped on, and all of a sudden the energy could connect back and something inside me turned on. Now, that first morning, I didn't go, yeah, that's not what happened. I just felt this sort of shift to, all right, you got a roof over your head, your family's healthy,
Yeah.
you've saved money. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
Get out there. I didn't even think those things. It was more like the electricity, the energy in me, this vitality kind of kicked in. But it was the second morning where the profound nature of what I was stepping into really kicked in. So I wake up, anxiety, ankles right up the legs, feel like the rush of, oh God, something's wrong. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I get out of bed. I start walking to the bathroom. And it's as I'm walking to the bathroom, I'm not even in there yet, that I feel something I have never felt in my entire adult life. And it's this. When you're about to go to a cafe and you're going to meet somebody you're really excited to meet, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody you really love, you're going to see them.
Yeah.
What do you feel right as you're about to walk in the cafe?
You're excited. You're upbeat. You're anticipating something good happening.
Yeah. I actually realized I was feeling that way about seeing myself.
Yeah.
Now, I'm 53 this year. I don't think until that morning in April 2020, I had ever had an experience as an adult of being excited to see the human being Mel Robbins. I've been excited to see an outfit or a haircut or the way new eyeshadow might look. But the human being? The way our kids, when they're really, really little, just love the sight of themselves? This unconditional support and celebration that's hardwired in your DNA when you're born?
Yeah.
And so as I rounded the corner that second morning, that's when the profound nature of this started to really hit me. And I stood there and I stared at the woman in the mirror. And I realized I don't think I've ever asked myself the question, what does she need from me today? I've never joined in partnership with myself. I have been so busy trying to get shit done, trying to make sure people like me, trying to make sure the bills are paid, trying to make sure everybody else is okay, trying to do all this stuff that is the stuff of our lives, that I have forgotten about the most important person, and that is myself. And again, I'm going to go back to a point that we have been talking about kind of in various ways, which is we all know that we're supposed to love ourselves. We all know that we're supposed to be kind to ourselves. You can read a quote on Instagram. You should talk to yourself like your best friend. The problem is how? You read a quote like that, you're like, no shit, Sherlock. How do I do it? I mean, what? Seriously? Right? How do you do that? I don't know. I've been beating the shit out of myself for years. How do I stop doing it? I don't know. And, here's the thing, logically, we know it's stupid because if beating yourself up, being hard on yourself, rejecting yourself, trashing yourself, if it actually worked, we'd all be millionaires. We'd have rock star bodies. We'd have the best marriages on the planet. We'd never have to work a day in our life. We'd be on a beach somewhere. It would work.
Yeah.
But instead, we have these patterns of thinking and small patterns of behavior, like not looking in the mirror at yourself is a form of rejecting yourself. Picking yourself apart is a habit of rejecting yourself. And so when you start your day like that, which you do, and then you go out into the world having rejected your very being, This is the reason why you are so thirsty for everybody else's validation. This is the reason why you are seeking your worth in the money that you make, in the car that you drive, in the downloads that you get, in the likes that you have, in the neighborhood that you live in. You think your worth is outside of you. And I'm here to tell you the secret to your fucking life is grab that worth and bring it back home. Start practicing a physical habit, an action that demonstrates to your brain that you respect yourself, that you believe that you're worthy, that you deserve forgiveness, that you deserve encouragement, that you believe in you. And as you start to practice the physical action, the universal symbol for I got you, I love you, I celebrate you, I see you, I believe in you. When you practice this physical action, the neuroassociation that is already in your brain with the high five to yourself in the mirror takes over. It's insane how this works. The science is mind-blowing. I think this is 1,000 times more powerful than the high five habit because it cuts down to the core of who you are.
You think it's more powerful than the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 habit?
Hell yes, I do. Hell yes, because the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool that will push you to take action. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool you use to cut off the worries that trigger anxiety. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a tool that you use to create a moment of objectivity and control when you're normally triggered so you can consciously choose a different response.
Yeah.
The high five habit goes all the way down to the core of who you are and how you treat yourself. And when you become a human being who has compassion for yourself, who likes you, it won't matter what happens out there.
Yeah.
Because everything in here is healed and taken care of. And so, somebody can say to me, I don't love you anymore. I don't like you. It'll sting, but it doesn't change the fact that I still like myself. Because I practice and demonstrate it. That's the difference.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the hidden magic in the high five habit is, because I've been trying it the last few days, right?
And what did you experience?
It is powerful because...
Well, walk us through. Like you're standing at your bathroom sink. Yeah, and walk us through your experience.
Well, first of all, you have to take a pause from your life. Whatever you were going to do, it requires an intentional pause to go, no, I'm going to now do this action for myself. And I've got to say, before I tell you how it went, I think it would have been very different for me a few years ago because I feel self-compassion, not seeking your worth from outside, from other people, from download numbers, likes, what people say about you, which was a huge part of my life. Mm-hmm. I feel that having put a lot of that to bed now and really feeling that I actually like the person I see in the mirror these days. So I kind of feel 5 years ago, I would have had a different experience with it, but it was still powerful because you are just looking at yourself and you're putting your hand on the mirror. And I think what it is, it's just that pause, that moment of seeing me. Like you are seeing yourself. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know, obviously as a guy, what do? We're often looking in the mirror. We might be looking at our beard as we're shaving, right? Yeah. But you're not looking at your eyes, right? You're just looking at, I need to shave. I missed a bit here. Let me get rid of that. And then you crack on, right? Or you look at your face and your hair, but you're not really looking at yourself.
Right.
You're seeing your silhouette. You are seeing yourself, but you're not seeing yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's what I think was really powerful, was that it's just another, I feel it's just another tool now, which is going to take me all of 2 seconds, if that's 5 seconds tops. It's not as if I don't have time to add that in. There's no harm in adding it in. And frankly, I like adding it in. It makes me feel good. It's like, and I think it's what you say, it's the action.
Yeah.
You don't have to say anything if you're not in the mood to say anything.
I don't want you to say anything, actually. And the reason why is the neuroassociation. So...
what do you mean by that?
Well, here's what I mean by that. So when you high five someone else, what does the action of a high five communicate?
It's just a universal symbol of you got this, I see you, you're great, we can do this. It depends on the situation, but it's a good feeling. It's a mutual sort of validation type experience.
Tell me about the London Marathon and getting high fives.
Oh, I mean,
what did a stranger's high five mean to you?
It just gave you and that's the key. It's strangers, right? You don't know them, and they're looking at you, and you're looking at them. Or maybe you're not even looking at them. You just went through. You give a high five. It's like you've taken a shot of feel goods. It's validation. It's like, hey, you know what? We're in this together. You're standing at the side cheering. I'm running, but at that moment, it was like common humanity. It was like there was no animosity, and actually. This kind of one of my big learnings from the London Marathon actually was, and it relates to this, I think, is that that's kind of who we are. Like in what is considered a very divided world at the moment, I went and did the London Marathon, and all I saw was love, strangers giving love to other people that they didn't know, right? And how did they give that love? Through cheering, but more often than not, with a high five.
Correct. It is a universal symbol of encouragement, of love, of celebration. And the neuro association, whether you live in a culture where you've been high-fived or not, the neuro association is still there because you have seen them in sport.
Yeah.
You've seen them in marathons. You've seen teachers give them to kids. So your brain has a lifetime of programming in your subconscious that is triggered by this action. It is neurologically impossible to high five yourself and think you're a loser, you failed, I don't like your face. Your brain will not allow you to do it because the neuro association is so entrenched. It has only ever meant, I celebrate you, I see you, I got you, keep going, you got this, I'm behind you.
As you say that, Mel, it makes me think of gratitude, because when we are feeling grateful, we can't feel down, we can't feel anxious, we can't feel annoyed with ourselves. And in some ways, this is kind of gratitude for ourselves.
Correct. Because the thing about gratitude, which obviously has tremendous, demonstrated, proven benefits in your life, most of us are grateful for things outside of us.
Yeah.
What I'm teaching the world to do is to unlock neuroassociation in your mind and in your nervous system and aim it back at yourself. And use this simple habit to interrupt the critic, to break the default loops in your mind associated with judgment, shame, criticism, hatred for self, and to replace it with a new default setting of seeing yourself the way you see your child, which is love. Yeah. Like my kids do stuff that piss me off all the time. And I can be upset with them or disappointed with them, but I never stop loving them.
Yeah.
And there is something that has happened to each and every one of us that as life's pains and heartaches and disappointments and setbacks sort of stack up, we stop loving ourselves. We start judging ourselves more. We start condemning ourselves more. We start rejecting ourselves more. We start trying to seek somebody else's love and approval in order to fill up this well inside of us that we've been digging because we've been rejecting ourselves. And so, it's so powerful because the action alone is what communicates it. If you're looking at yourself and you raise your hand on your hardest days, what the high five says is not, yeah, I'm amazing. Like, this is not going to turn you into a narcissist. This is grounded in compassion.
Yeah.
This is basically saying, I see you. You're right. This is hard. And you know what? You can do this. And I'm going to be here. And I've got your back. And when you send yourself into your day with that physical action it leaves an imprint in your mind and spirit. Now, there's a couple reasons why. I don't even write about this part in the book because I didn't know this until I started doing podcasts for the book.
Yeah.
So Dr. Amen told me, who's, one of the leading experts in the brain, that one of the reasons why you feel better when you do it, no matter how terrible of a morning it is because your brain has always given you dopamine when somebody else high fives you.
Yeah.
So these sorts of gestures are rewarded in the brain. So when you simply high five yourself, your brain doesn't distinguish between me high fiving me and me high fiving you. It just sees, oh, I know what that is. Drip, dopamine. Oh,
Yeah.
I believe in that person. The second thing that happens is that your body is hardwired for celebratory energy. This is that electricity that's in the walls that has a switch that you can turn on and off. And so, for example, when you cross the finish line of the London Marathon, what do you instinctively do?
High five someone.
Yeah, and raise your hands, right? When your favorite team scores, raise your hands. When you yell surprise at a birthday party, you raise your hands. When you say hello, you raise your arm. When you go to high five somebody, you raise your arms.
Yeah.
When you hug somebody, you raise your arms. This is wired through your entire body. And normally we give that celebratory energy to other people or things.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, when you high five yourself, you flip the switch. You flip the switch and give yourself a little bit of that vitality that's coursing through you to help you move into your day.
Yeah, I see it as almost like it is about the high five, but it's not in many ways as well, because it's like if you're going down a road and the high five to yourself sets you off on a different path for the rest of that day compared to had you not done it, right?
1,000% right. So let's just use a great example that everybody can latch onto. Sport.
Yeah.
So if a team is about to play the championship in the league, right?
Yeah.
And they're the underdogs. What is the best way to send the team into that game? Is it to beat them down? Oh, you did a terrible job on the London Marathon. You're going to face plant in New York. Oh my God. And I saw your split times. We're fucked. No, that's not the best way to do it.
But that's what we do to ourselves.
Correct. Correct. And so I'm here to say, you don't have to say anything because you're not going to believe it. So we're going to cheat this. We're going to circuit your feelings.
You're bypassing
Correct.
words. It's like when you take this ridiculous example, but it's like when you take a B12 supplement, but you take it sublingually, so it dissolves. So you bypass having to go into the gut, through the liver, and then you get it straight in.
Correct.
And it's got that feel to me.
1,000%. And so you send yourself into the game of life with that sort of optimism, with that resilience, with that compassion. And, look, some days you're going to laugh. Some days you might cry. People report some days you're going to just feel a little bit better. And some days you're going to high five yourself and laugh out loud from the dopamine and walk into your boss's office and ask for that raise or quit. Because you're going to remember that no matter what, you're going to be okay. You're going to remember that no matter what, you got your own back. You're going to remember that it doesn't matter if nobody says great job at that presentation that you worked on, because you can walk into the bathroom, as people have written to us, having practiced this. Hey, I did a presentation at work. Nobody said a damn word. The old me would have walked into my cube and cried and thought I was getting fired. I knew I did a good job. I walked into the bathroom and high-fived myself. Your kids can stick this in their back pocket. And it's a way to reset yourself when you start going down that negative road. And why is this important? It's important because the high five is not going to remove poverty. It's not going to remove discrimination. It's not going to remove diabetes. It's not going to remove the fact that somebody just said they want to divorce you. It's not going to remove all of the trauma. It doesn't change those things. It changes you.
Yeah.
And it changes your relationship with yourself and your ability to believe that through your actions and your attitude, you can move the needle on those things.
Yeah. I love that last point, Mel, because the similarities between the way you talk about this and the way I've been talking about certain behaviors and 5-minute habits for years, they are so connected. And one of the things I often say, and I want to just acknowledge you for what you just said, it's not going to change your life situation. If you're in poverty, you're still going to be in poverty, but you're going to be a different person. You're going to be better able to face the stresses that are in your life.
Yes.
And I think this is such an important point, right? Because I have said this before on the show, but I always think it's worth reiterating that a lot of people feel that self-help or wellness is the preserve of the wealthy and the middle classes. But actually, habits like this, yes, they'll help someone who's got a ton of money in their bank accounts, because a lot of people like that are racked with self-doubt on the inside as well. But it's also going to help someone who is in poverty, or a single mum who's working 2 jobs and has got 3 kids and is really struggling. That little micro moment each morning where she sees herself in the mirror, she signals to her brain that she is worthy, that actually she's a human being with real feelings, and for all her qualities and all her, all the great things that she's doing, that has power, right?
Oh my
and
God,
it is
amazing
free.
power.
It is free. There's not a single person pretty much who is listening to this or watching this right now who couldn't just either pause or at the end go, all right, let me, I'm convinced, Mel. Like, go on, I'm going to give this a go. I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah. Well, first of all, don't rush it. Don't rush it. So don't go into the bathroom and slap the mirror and be like, I didn't feel anything. I want you to, again, as you so rightly put, take a minute and just look at yourself, because for most people, that's the hardest part. I mentioned that, I get smarter and I learn so much from every comment and people that write their stories in. And one person, Allison Bird, a friend of mine, who made my ability to explain the depth of this so much deeper, because she said one thing to me when she tried it before the book came out. She said, I think it's working. I feel energized. I said, but what surprised me, Mel? I said, what? She goes, the resistance. I said, the resistance? What are you talking about? She's like, oh, the first couple days I did this, I stood in front of that mirror and there was something in me that's like, I couldn't even raise my hand. There was this resistance. And so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And so I, of course, put something out. Hey, to the 700,000 people on the newsletter list, anybody trying this and feel any resistance? We write to everybody that's in our little test group. Anybody feel, holy cow. It turns out that most people do not have an immediate positive, oh, I'm doing this reaction. Most people have massive resistance to even trying it. And I want to explain why, because this is extraordinarily sad. And it also is an enormous opportunity for growth, because I believe, based on having 136,000 people go through a 5-day challenge online that we're monitoring in an app from 91 countries and seeing what they're reporting, I know that this takes 5 days to work. 5 days before you have an enormous breakthrough in how you see and relate to yourself. 5 days before the chemical, physiological, neurological, physical, and psychological change starts to go, holy cow, this is crazy. This works like this. And so the resistance comes from self-judgment and self-condemnation. And I'm going to tell you a story to drive this home. For people who stand in the bathroom mirror when they try the high five habit and they feel this resistance in their body, first of all, let me say, it's really normal to think this is weird, because it is, okay? It just sounds so cheesy. For those of us that grew up with Saturday Night Live, you're going to think of Stuart Smiley. I'm nice, people like me, that skit they used to do about the guy who talked to himself in the mirror. You're going to stand there and go, seriously, Dr. Charlie and Mel Robbins, you two have lost your mind. But okay. If it's weird as you do it, that's a sign it's working.
Yeah.
So Dr. Leaf told me, oh, well, that's what it feels like when a new neural pathway is getting plowed. So if it feels weird, good, because we're teaching you to do the opposite of criticizing yourself. Yeah. But the resistance is something else. The resistance is the fact that every morning as you start your day, you drag your entire past into the bathroom with you. And if you're somebody who has experienced trauma or been abused or abandoned or neglected or grew up with chaos and addiction, or you've been the victim of a crime, or you're constantly having to deal with discrimination or violence, all stuff that you're not responsible for. There are a lot of people who take all of that from their past, and when they look at themselves, they see somebody who's damaged. They see somebody who's unworthy. They see somebody who is unlovable because of those things. And what the high five starts to become when you do it is it becomes literally an act of defiance. It becomes an act of strength. It becomes a sign that I'm a survivor. It becomes permission to heal. It becomes this deep sense of feeling and knowing where you are and the fact that you have an extraordinary future despite all of the pain and suffering that you have endured and survived. And then there are people that bring everything they regret, all the shame, all the regret, so the cheating, the lying, the stealing, the hurt you've caused yourself or other people, the missed opportunities. And boy, did I get an unbelievable example of this in my own life. So, I was doing the high five habit myself. And during the early days of the pandemic, my husband had just been diagnosed with depression. And he's a super healthy guy. He is a certified Buddhist meditation instructor. He leads men's retreats called Soul Degree. He's a yoga instructor. He's wildly involved with our community and with our family. He's a super high functioning guy, but he's just felt heavy. There's been like a cloud there, like a heaviness to him, there's no light between his eyes. And so thankfully, his therapist finally got him to go see a psychopharmacologist and somebody to do the advanced testing. They're like, dude, you have dysthymia. You have really long-term depression. You're lucky you've been doing all this stuff because it's kept you alive. And, I turned to him at one point. I've been doing this for a couple weeks rather. And I'm like, I know I'm not your doctor, and I know I'm not an expert in your mental health, but I really think you should try this high five thing. I really think it's going to help you with this depression. He's like, I'm not high five. It is the stupidest thing. I don't care what you're doing. No. And I'm like, okay, if you won't do it for yourself, would you just do it for me? Would you do it for 5 days? Because we're in the middle of researching this now. And I haven't even shared it with my audience yet. And I'm kind of writing down in my journal what I'm feeling. And I've got a couple people on the team. Would you just do it for me? He's like, all right. So he kind of did the first one, are you happy? Typical spouse thing. So he did it for 5 days. And then I asked him what he thought. And he said, you're on to something really big. And I said, why do you say that? And I had no idea how dark my husband's thoughts were. I had no idea how much he was condemning himself, how much shame he felt. I knew that he was struggling with depression. I had no idea that for the past 7 years, the man who has stood next to me at the bathroom sink next to me would look up at the mirror and see a person that he hated. He saw a person that had failed. He believed that since the restaurant business didn't work and since it left us $800,000 in debt, and that his wife had to go out and make the money, that he was the world's worst father, the world's worst husband, and he has been condemning himself every day for 7 years. And the reason he thought the high five was stupid is because you only high five people you care about. You only high five people who are winning, and he, of all people, didn't deserve it. And for me, I knew that he was struggling with shame around the restaurant business. I knew he was struggling with the amount of debt that we had and the fact that, he had, the investors lost money. Like for me, I had a totally different experience. I'm like, you guys worked at that for 8 years? You made your investors whole? Like, hello, entrepreneurship? Like, we wouldn't have the 5-second rule without it. Are you kidding? Like, woohoo, we're winning. This is amazing. Like, his business partner had the same, like, he was proud of what they built, proud of how hard they worked. Chris, for whatever reason, that was not his story. Yeah. His story was condemnation, regret, shame. He could only see a failure. And, what was wild about that is, I've for years talked Chris up. I've for years have told him how proud I am of him. He was the CFO of the business as the company was taking off. Yeah. Like he owns half of it. Like he's an integral part of everything.
Yeah.
He doesn't see it that way. And that's an important part.
Yeah.
Nobody can heal you. Nobody can change how you talk to yourself. This is an inside job. And so if you relate to how my husband feels, I want you to understand that what Chris said to me was that this high five and pushing through the resistance is an act of forgiveness. It's an act of healing. It's an act of support and compassion that allows you and shows you that you are giving yourself permission to feel good again, that you deserve to be happy, that you deserve and that you can continue to push on and go do better and be better and feel better. And that of all people, hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you. So make sure you subscribe. Mwah.